Hey guys, it's Steve from Financial Python. Been playing around with ChatGPT lately and just wanted to put together a quick video on how we can use ChatGPT for sentiment analysis. So as you can see, I just queued up two prompts on the front end where I'm asking it for sentiment analysis of this statement, I am bullish on Apple, and sentiment analysis of this statement, SPY is dumping today. And as you can see, what it came back with was this was positive and this is negative, which, obviously we can all agree with looking at that. So how we can do this on the back end is by using the completion endpoint. So ChatGPT has an API documentation. We have to sign up, create an account, get an API key, and then you can make calls to this completion endpoint, providing the necessary parameters in the request body. So as you can see, we would provide a prompt that says this is a test, but obviously the prompt that we would provide would be this. We would specify a model, which we're pretty much just going to use DaVinci. I think that's the best one at this time. So let's jump into it. So first thing we would have to do is create an account and get an API key. As you can see, I already have that at this time. So I have a GPT. I have an account, I have an API key. Basically, you do that by just going to this page like we see here. The API keys, create a new secret key. That's all you need is a secret key. I'm not going to do that at this time. But once we do that, I'm actually just going to just create a variable just to store that to start. I'll just enter it, and as you guys know, Colab will store that for me if I just play this once, so I don't want to, so I'll just run it and then hide it, just so you guys can't see it. Okay, so I just fast forwarded. I'm not sure why that took so long, but yeah, the idea is that you would get an API key and you could just insert it into your script as a variable. The next thing we would have to do is install the openai Python package. So I'll have to do that in Colab. If you do that locally, you might not have to do it at this step, but it is something that I'll have to do. And as that's running, we can start setting up our call. So it should be a quick script. So what we want to do is import the package that we just installed. We want to set our API key. So we'll say openapi.api key equals my GPT secret key that I had put above. And then we want to start outlining our parameters. So again, we're going to have our model that we want to use. So again, we're going to do text DaVinci. How do I spell this? Let me just go, where was it? I'll just grab it right from here. Text DaVinci 003. I'm sure the documentation is just going to have the latest one whenever you start it. So I'm going to use that as my model. And then I'm going to have some text to analyze. I'm just going to hard code this, but obviously you can get the text from anywhere. You can scrape Reddit, you can scrape Twitter. I have some other videos on how to scrape those two sites to get text. So maybe you can put together something where you scrape text out of Reddit and analyze it with GPT. That might be something I put together in the future. But yeah, I'm not going to do that right now. So, let's just say the text that I want is this: I am bullish on Apple. So let's say I got that from somewhere. I want to analyze this. So yeah, so let me show you how we can do that. So I'm going to create a variable called completion, and I'm going to use the openai.completion .create. So this is the Python syntax for making this API call. We're going to specify the engine, which I'm going to set to the model that we created. We're going to specify the prompt, which I'm just going to make an F string. So I'm going to say, I want to do basically this exact same thing. So I'm going to say sentiment analysis of the following text, and then I'm going to add the text in quotes so it can analyze, and then I'm going to add in some new lines, and then I'm going to say, give me the sentiment score. Same thing that we did on the front end here. Text analyze is what it's called. Okay, yeah, so same thing here. And then the next thing I want to specify is the max token. So with the max tokens, we're basically specifying a length of the response, and I want the response to only be one word, basically positive, negative, or unsure, or whatever it spits out for unsure. Yeah, I don't want anything more than that. And the temperature, I'm going to set to 0. So the temperature, if I go back to the API reference, see, it defaults to 1. So it's basically saying the higher the temperature, the more random the output. I'm not really sure, kind of what that means. You can play around, but, I don't want anything random. I want it to say positive or negative. So I'm going to set that to 0 just to override the default. And then from there, I'm just going to print this so we can kind of take a look at what it looks like. Let's see. Okay. So you see I get back this response, I get some jargon, but the main thing that I want to see is this text that we see I got back that says positive. That's great. And some white space, which don't love, but we can strip that out, which let's do that. So basically, we get a sentiment back, and we want to set that equal to the completion object, the choices in here, the first one, so choice is 0, text, we want the text variable, and let's strip that. So we'll strip that to, we'll strip out any white space or anything, that we don't want in there. So we'll say after that, let's print the sentiment. Cool, we see positive. And then from there, it's basically up to us to decide what we would want to do with that, Like we could have some logic that says if sentiment if sentiment equals positive, we'll just print, I don't know, buy signal, like maybe you have a trading bot that reads a sentiment and wants to, place a buy because it's positive. I'm not saying to do that, but, just an idea of something that maybe you can do. Buy signal, and we'll write out the sentiment is positive. And obviously, else, if the sentiment is negative, which we can put in an example for that, just see what that looks like, then we'll print, obviously this is a sell signal. And if we don't get one of those two values, then basically, neither buy or sell, just move on. So we'll move on to something else. Again, this is an example of if we're running a trading bot, how we could treat this. So obviously, like in this case, it's going to print that to buy signal. But if I change the text, if I go back to this buy dumping today and rerun this, we can see that the text is negative. So we print the sentiment, it's negative. And obviously this would be a sell signal based on our criteria here. Okay, so I think that's it. So as you can see, this is just a very quick example of how we can use GPT for sentiment analysis. I'm going to keep playing around with it. Hopefully, hopefully we can find some other uses for it. But hope you guys learned something. Thank you for sticking with me, and I'll see you next time.